You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear.
Hey, welcome back, Shoe and Show listeners. I am one of your co-hosts today, Matt Priest, and I have with me Sandy Mine. Sandy, one of the things that you and I are working, you more than me, but really hard on is June Market Week in New York for Fanny. And it's coming up in just a few short weeks. I'm super excited about it because we've dabbled with in-person market weeks over the last 2 years. We had one in August of 21, and we had something in December of 21 as well. But then we had to cancel February, but now we are back. Hopefully better than ever, Sandy. But I'm super excited about it. I know you are. But what are your thoughts on the upcoming market week here in June?
Oh, I'm super excited about June. I have gotten so many requests for attending and coming and networking, and everyone's really excited to be back in person. December definitely gave us a taste of that, I think. We had a really robust week back in December of 21, and now heading into June, I think this is going to be the biggest June market week that we've had in several years. So I'm really excited, and I'm really excited to bring on a couple of guests to talk about that and share some thoughts on what's coming up for them as well. So I'd like to welcome Salina Ferretti and Rob Perschino to today's episode. So welcome, Salina and Rob. We're really excited about having you on here today. You're both from Falc, and I'd love to introduce you guys to say hello.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting us, Sandy.
Yes, thank you very much, Sandy.
Great. We always do this this intro piece and have everyone share their shoe story on how they became members of our large shoe footwear community. So I'll start with you, Salina, and ask you, how did you become part of the footwear industry? What is your shoe story?
Oh, it's interesting because I moved with my family to the market when I was like 10 years old. And everybody was like either stitching shoes, making shoes, or selling shoes, everything. And as a child, you think it's normal that everywhere in the world that happens. And then only later you realize it's something so special to an area. And there was very few people who could speak English. So everybody was calling me to translate for all these international buyers. And I fell in love with the industry, the people that work in it. And then some years later, together with my husband, yes, I got completely absorbed into the industry. And I haven't left it ever since. It's just doesn't let go of you.
Exactly. It's part of the family. I know about that for sure.
Yeah.
And Rob, I have known you for quite some time. Many, many years ago, I met you back at Highline United.
Yes.
When you were working with Ash, I think the brand was at the time. But I know you had a history before that too. So tell us your shoe story, please.
My intro to the shoe world is a little different than Salina's. I was actually graduated from college and had my roommates from college at my parents' house for the weekend. And my dad woke us up by throwing the New York Times Sunday edition on my chest at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, "Get a job." And I said, "Where?" And he goes, read the headline. It said 9 West Shoe Company is up and growing in Stamford, Connecticut. So I applied and got a job in 2 days, and I've been in the industry ever since. And I can honestly say that I've been very fortunate for all the people I've worked for and worked with. And it is something that once you get into this business, it's really hard to leave it.
That is so true, man. That is an amazing story to get hit in the face with a newspaper.
No, the chest, sir. Chest.
On your chest, hit the chest with a newspaper, and it changes your life forever. I mean, who can tell that story, Rob, but you?
Yeah, that's pretty much true. And don't forget, back then, 20-something years ago, the Sunday edition of the New York Times weighed about 8 pounds.
And what was your position there
I started off at the lowest possible level you could. I was the sample room manager for Enzo Angelini when Enzo Angelini was just starting to take off. And it's
Nice.
quite nice because a lot of my colleagues and people I worked with at that time were all still friendly. And it's ironic because now we're all at the same levels throughout the industry.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So
Yeah, so I started at rock bottom, which is a good thing because I learned so much on the way up, and you learn so many different people on the way up. And, even no matter what size of a company you work for, someone that does anything for you at the company you appreciate. So it's just, I'm very, very happy with the road I've taken in the shoe world. I was with I launched Ash pretty much in North America in 2005. And I was with Ash / Highline United until 2019 when I met Salina and had the amazing opportunity to go work for Falc USA running their adult business. And, during the pandemic, I started in November before the pandemic. We were in Milan during the February market, and everyone was talking about this COVID. And Salina said, you should probably get out of here. And I said, well, I kind of have to because I booked my ticket to leave tomorrow morning. And she's like, all right, leave. And we've had, knock on wood, we've had a lot of great success, with Vol Blanche. We've had great distribution, great sell-throughs. The demand is there. One of the most gratifying things is when I started to deliver shoes in North America during the height of the pandemic. And ShopBop, for example, getting the shoes online and then within 2 to 3 weeks, reordering double what they initially ordered. And the demand was there. And one of the most special things about the pandemic is when the independent boutiques opened their doors, and how many of them called and said, Rob, all my customers are coming in and they're looking at this new brand. What is this new brand, Vol Blanche? And it's selling over everything else. So I need more shoes. And Salina and, being a vertical company where we own the brands, we own the factory, we own everything in between, we were able to exercise and deliver within 30, 40 days during that time to get product back on the shelf. So a lot of independents have really formed a special bond with us because we were there for them and we weren't in a panic mode. Thank God, like a lot of people were. And it was a very panicking time for everybody. And we had the opportunity, well, at least I had the opportunity. Salina had a different opportunity to manage everything on a global scale. But for North America, it was a thankful time, I should say.
That's good to hear. That's good. The silver lining is always really important to point out, Rob. Now, Salina, let's back up a little bit and talk about the Falc profile. Walk us through the company, the brands. Rob mentioned some of them, but the vertical integration is very unique in our industry, which is an asset in this kind of environment. Yeah. But talk to us some more about the Falc story, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we will be celebrating 50 years in 2 years. So there's a lot of history, and as Rob was saying, we started, with our own factories, with a lot of shoemaking experience and great team of people. And we are still a small company, definitely for North American standards. We have a turnover around 90 million. And the interesting thing is that we've been growing, and also during these last 2 years, where at the beginning we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Maybe because, as Rob said, we were able to deliver, and the whole team pulled together in an amazing way. Things have just been so much better than expected. I also think that we were lucky that everything happened at a moment where our brands were living a very positive moment, and we kept investing on making a great product and trying to keep things positive, and yes, so we're really excited about coming to New York in June, because we definitely will be there ourselves, and to get ready for the next season. We started, because you asked about history, we started as a company that made children's shoes. And so children's shoes, and Naturino is where we come from. And we've been present in the North, also in North America for many years with our children's shoe brands, with a great team of people that now have, working with us now. And since Rob has come on board, we were selling a little bit of adult shoes before, but it's only really the last 2 years that we've started to sell and more than sell, it's just like building meaningful relationships with some of the best players in the retailers in North American market. And yes, we're really excited. So Voile Blanche and Flower Mountain are two of the brands which have really encountered the most excitement of the American customers till now. One is a sophisticated sneaker with also a very, very interesting city spirit. And Flower Mountain is a Japanese trekking shoe. So two very different projects, which are just, which are growing a lot also in the rest of the world. Typically, if something is successful somewhere, it's successful also in other parts. And that's also the case here. And then last year, or 2020, we bought Candice Cooper, which is a North European brand, and that is also growing very fast. So, yeah, I think a lot of good things happening in the company. So we're very thankful to everybody involved, and and excited about the future.
That's great. You've had a tremendous amount of success, and I'm sure a lot of this has to do with bringing on Rob, who is such a hustler and has such a great, deep amount of relationships in the industry. And I'm a big fan, right?
Yeah.
I think that Rob has done a really good job on really growing some of the brands from where they were and where they are now. And I know he's excited about June Market. And I know he brought on a couple of great new retailers, and he's part of the growth strategy for you in the US. Rob, I'm interested in hearing about where are you going from here with some of these adult brands? I know Salina looks at it from a much larger, managing the whole group. I'm specifically asking you about what the opportunity is for June Market and beyond. What about 2023? What's exciting for you, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, as I think both of you touched on earlier in this call was, I think that this upcoming June Fanny market is going to be more unique than it has been in the past 2 years, because I know for us personally, we're going to be having our first face-to-face meetings with some of our larger retailers for the first time in 2 years. One of my buyers at a rather large, retailer, she's never touched the shoes yet. She has bought the shoes off of our Zoom calls. I've sent a couple samples, but they're excited to come in and look and feel and touch the brand. And so for that, I'm really excited, because we should have all of our majors coming in to see us in person in June. That's exciting. To answer the second part of the question, what is my next challenge? The one thing that we do here at Falc is everything has a partner. So if you sell women's shoes underneath Flower Mountain and Voile Blanche, you also sell men's shoes. And so now my next challenge, if you would, is to build up the men's business to be equal to the women's business. That's not as easy to do here in the U.S., because where we distribute our shoes, the men's shoe space is relatively small. But as Salina mentioned that, yes, both brands are very different in aesthetics, but both brands are basically very cool, chic, and fashionable. And I was on the phone with a customer yesterday out in Northern California, and she said, believe it or not, I had a gentleman yesterday, and he had a pair of Flower Mountain shoes on. And he goes, I bought them online, but they're the only shoe. He goes, I have like 8 or 9 pair, but they're just the coolest shoes because no one has them yet. And I was just out in California last week, and I was wearing my Flower Mountain men's shoes and my Voile Blanche men's shoes. And so many people stopped and said, where did you get them? And that's kind of where the story begins. So we have some really good meetings lined up, and we're excited. And, it's step by step.
That's great. Salina, I have a question for you about growth. Are you looking to bring on new brands, launch new brands in the US? You know you could do it with great success. You've done it during COVID, some of the most challenging times out there. Are you having your eye on some new growth in the brand in the
Well, I
brands?
am really, many people have said already, but really chapeau to the resilience of our whole industry, even the retailers the last 2 years, how they reinvented themselves and worked together with us and we with them. And the children business is growing very strongly, especially in the US. Well, not especially, but also in the US. And we have Voile Blanche and Flower Mountain, which, as we said, are two important brands and have to be developed in the women's and the men's. Candice Cooper is a brand that in the past, with its previous owners, had some momentum in the US, and we would like to repropose this brand again to the market. And then we have some sneaker lines which are very strong in Asia and in Italy. But I think that with the three brands at the moment, let's concentrate on them and get them, well distributed. I think that would be more than anybody could have wished for or imagined a couple of years ago. So we need to grow and consolidate along the way as we go along. Because we've been so fortunate to meet some amazing people in the US over the years, like you, Matt, and you, Sandy. We've known each other also for some years, and we've always found a lot of support. And but we know how small we are, and we have a long way to go. And so yeah, we're really excited about all the things we can do from now on.
Well, Salina, when you say the word small, I think of agility, right? Because so many big companies are not agile in an era where you need to be agile. So talk to us about the vertical integration of Falc and how that creates an agility at a time when, even as we head to June market, a lot of our brands, because of the supply chain hiccups that have happened, particularly in Asia and coming into the Southern California ports, if you will, the traditional kind of channels of importation for footwear here in the US, that's all out of whack right now, right? Yeah. It's all disrupted. Yeah. But you guys may be small, but you're agile. So talk about that advantage as a company and what that provides for you for product delivery. Rob mentioned it, but I'd be interested to get your take on it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Because, there were like 10 years ago when there was so many commercial companies just springing up left and right. We thought, oh my God, maybe our model is outdated, or it's not the right model going forward. But being part of our heritage, we definitely could not let go. And now we really are happy. We have our headquarters in Civitanova, as we said, in the Marche region in Italy, where there's a lot of industry and a lot of smaller but really experienced suppliers of anything you might need, from like 3D technology to the latest leathers and any decoration you could wish for a shoe. And so that's a huge advantage for us. And we have a big factory there with a lot of also modelists and not only designers. And we also have a big factory in Eastern Europe, like close enough to us. And we also actually own a factory that makes sole units, a factory that makes molds, a factory that makes cutters, and each of all these units are on the market. But it really has proven a huge advantage for us these last years, and we're excited going forward. We have a lot of requests for people who would like to buy sole units or any of the components we produce, because a lot of people have moved away from Asia since the logistics have got so complicated, and the expectations are not that rosy either for the next couple of years. So we have an office in Shanghai with some people who work for us there, and as you know, they've been in a terrible lockdown these last couple of weeks. So it's there's still worrying times.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Now, Rob, a question for you as an expert in the U.S. market. Are there dynamics that in the U.S. market are different than maybe some of the other markets Falc sells its brands in? And what kind of guidance are you giving Salina and the corporate team at HQ about, hey, the U.S. market is a little bit different in these regards, or is it, a sneaker is a sneaker is a sneaker, whether it's in Tokyo or New York or wherever? Kind of how does that play out?
No, the great thing about the company is that we all speak so often, and it's just part of the normal conversation of having. Very rarely do we have I'm actually heading off to Italy in a couple of weeks to sit down and go through the final the final prototypes and suggest and make any additions that we need for the US market particularly. Color is probably the biggest thing that we change in our market here. But with us being so agile, and we are a small company, we are a little bit bigger than I think what Salina kind of portrays. But there's so much product because we're a product driven company all the way from the founder of the company where they're constantly developing shoes. The biggest change though, I think, was June market and being prepared for June market, where that's necessarily wasn't an important thing in the past for Falc because they really didn't know or really didn't partake in a June market and being ready to go for June, and then all of a sudden have shoes again for mid-July to have for August. And, so those are types of things that they've adapted really, really well to. And, regarding samples, we've all been in that position before where like, oh my God, the show's tomorrow. I don't have any samples. What am I going to do? I'm fortunate enough to get at least 80% to 90% of my samples a week to 10 days before the show. And each brand manager within Falc has a calendar of when I need my samples by. So I might get the first cut. But the great thing about our company and about the technology that we use is that our samples are approved once made. So once that sample is approved, that sample then has the okay to automatically go into production if needed. But what we do at the factory level is we have professional photographers take pictures of the samples immediately once they're approved. Those go directly into my iPad. So even though the shoes could be in transit here, I have 24 different angles and 3D images of the shoe on my iPad. So I might not have all 12 colors. I might have 3 colors, but I still have the balance on my iPad in high res pictures, which for us was very much, it was an easy Zoom call to have prior when we were all in lockdown, because it wasn't me dancing around my office trying to present shoes. And it was basically just, okay, let's go. We're going completely digital, and which we did. And the customer said, okay, just show me more angles. All right, love that shoe. They put it right in their cart. At the end of our meeting, their complete details would automatically be sent to them, and they'd have high-res pictures of everything they were interested in. So, I mean, we're a little bit bigger and a little bit more sophisticated than I think Salina leads to believe. And also another thing that we also, as Salina was mentioning about our mold factories, is we're also going to be entering some private label deals with some people in the near future as well. But there's a lot of opportunity for that. And so we have to make sure that we're ready. And I believe where we are as a company. So we're going to be exploring those opportunities in the near future as well.
That's
I know
great.
the question was for
And,
Rob. Can I add just a small detail about what is so special about the US market? I'm sure you all know, but being such a big market, of course, and with sometimes different habits, we have shoes that for us are only winter, only summer, and the customer keep ordering them or like putting them online, when to us it's like saying, hey, hang on, but that's a winter shoe. And say, no, this is what, we need this shoe now. So it's really interesting for us to see in the adult business, especially how the seasons all, there's not such a clear distinction between what is summer, what is winter. So that is has been like a really interesting part for us these last couple of years. And of course, reorders. Reorders are so important to North America. And for a European company, that's it's just not such a big thing. So being able to guarantee like the delivery also of reorders, and we have a logistics center, of course, in New Hampshire. But that has been really exciting to work on with Rob these last couple of years.
That's great. And Rob, you mentioned colorways. What can we look forward to just from a trend perspective? What are we excited about? What colors are you going to be showing? Give us all your final tips on what we can expect. I'm a big fan of the colorways, the trends that you put out in Flower Mountain. I think that they are just so cutting edge and so fresh and fun. So tell us what to look forward to for
Well,
that.
that's what makes Flower Mountain right so unique is because the retailers just like yourself, or they're excited to see the new colors, right? So we don't want to share too much information. We want them to come and see.
Okay.
But for
Okay.
Flower Mountain, I think we're going to be staying in the same vein of colors. We're going to be adding a couple new styles. Flower Mountain, we like to keep the collection rather small and neat, if you would.
Yeah.
Vol Blanche, we can make over 400 samples. For colorways, we're still in the process of going through. We will still proceed with, Lipari sneaker is a low top sneaker that we've had great success for. That, as Salina was just mentioning earlier, it was a style that we just keep reordering here in the United States, and it's a style that's never out of color. So we sell white all year round now, and now we sell a very shiny, soft, extremely soft patent. You don't even know it's a patent leather. It's so soft, and that's a new SKU that we're adding in. But for overall for spring summer, I think we're going to be expecting to see a lot more sandals from us than you have in the past on sneaker bottoms, which are very comfortable, very fashion forward, not too aggressive, but staying within the same sophisticated feel that the brand offers. Again, we'll still see a lot of the Marins, which is the high platform shoe sneaker, as well as the Julia. Again, and material interest is also very important to Falc. So even on a Volet Blanche style Marin fur, for example, where it has a shearling lining, there could be 8 different materials on that upper alone, from leather to felt to suede to glitter to shearling. And that's kind of what really separates us, and being at the price points we're at, I think that we offer an amazing product to our customer at the prices. And, as Matt, as you mentioned earlier, with everything that's going on out of Asia, the cost of producing footwear today is rising.
Yeah.
And it's a major impact on some vendors. And the one thing I can say, since we are privately owned, is that the company really does take a hit on their end and not just forcing it right onto the customer. And I think that's really important to say. Yes, we have to increase some of our styles by $3 to $5, but at our price points, it should be 10 to 15, and our retailers know it. And they know that we're absorbing some of those increasing costs. But since we are so vertical, we're also able to keep some of those costs down.
Right.
And so I think that's like kind of the biggest thing that I think is going to be coming out of the June market is how expensive are spring, summer shoes going to be, and how much is the customer willing to spend for spring, summer. So for me, to answer your question honestly about what's exciting and what's, coming up, it's keeping our prices the same or trying to keep them relatively the same as they were. And, it's the biggest challenge that we all have is supply chain management. So the cost of shipping shoes now is so high that we're not passing that buck to the customer. We're still absorbing that dollar on our end. And, we feel that that's something that we can do for the industry. Being that we're a privately owned company, we have our internal cost structures and we know what we can do and what we can't do. And to keep those costs as low as possible and provide the best quality that's what makes me excited about going into market.
That's awesome. Rob, that is awesome. Well, Salina and Rob, we want to thank you for joining us today for this conversation. For the Falc USA B2B site, go to falcusa.com. That's FALCUSA.com. Is there any other kind of, Salina and Rob, are there any other contact points I need to provide our listeners as we close out our episode?
I definitely think it's the easiest is if Rob's details, or so whichever contact you feel is important, Rob.
Yes, you can use my email, rob@falcusa.com.
Awesome.
Yes,
Well,
and you can put my number down as well.
Yeah, I think email's good, and we look forward to a June market. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Brand. It's
really
awesome.
honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is. It's cool.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Folks, this has been another exciting episode of Shoe and Show. We're nearing almost 6 years of this program, and our catalog is still available at shoeandshow.com. We're hitting our highest downloads in history right now, which is a testament to you all globally. So thank you for listening. Please join us. Please rate us. Check out our Shoe and Show website at shoeandshow.com, and be on the lookout for our next episode next week. And in the meantime, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.